exclusive access to the federal agency at the center of a heated national debate. We bring you behind the scenes to see how Immigration and Customs Enforcement operates locally.
With the tension surging, Carolyn Gussoff went inside ICE operations on Long Island for a rare view of how, where, and why arrests are made.
Imagine a prison originally built to rehabilitate and educate people being transformed into the headquarters of a brutal criminal empire. What happens when a notorious street gang known as Sex Money Murder can freely traffic drugs and compile ruthless target lists from behind heavily guarded steel walls? A historic indictment that has just been unsealed has dragged this terrifying underworld into the harsh light of justice. Please leave a comment sharing your thoughts on this shocking case, and remember to subscribe to the channel so you can continue exploring the darkest corners of society with us. February 20th, 2026 has become a significant milestone in judicial history and in the fight against crime in the United States. At the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida, a solemn atmosphere prevailed as a detailed 4-count indictment was officially unsealed and made public. This powerful legal action is not merely a routine procedural filing, but a testament to a massive investigative campaign underscoring the authorities' determination to eradicate the roots of dangerous criminal organizations that threaten the peace of society. This indictment directly targets 11 defendants individuals clearly identified by investigators as core members or key associates of the notorious gang known as SMM 24K. The development immediately drew intense media and public attention due to the exceptionally serious nature of the crimes listed. Members of this network are now facing a wide range of federal criminal charges, revealing a level of danger and an operational scale that far exceeds the typical bounds of a street gang. More specifically, the charges these individuals face include racketeering conspiracy under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, along with conspiracy and attempted murder in aid of racketeering to advance and protect their criminal operations. In addition, they are accused of direct involvement in a large-scale drug trafficking network. The most alarming and painful aspect of this case is the existence of a highly sophisticated criminal ecosystem in which the SMM 24K gang sustained its illegal activities continuously from the outside criminal underworld deep into the heavily guarded prison system of the state of Florida. To fully grasp the extreme danger posed by the SMM 24K organization, we must step back in time and examine the origins of this dark force. According to court records and official statements made during the proceedings, this gang is in fact a splinter group that emerged from the Bloods. This group is widely known as one of the longest-standing and most brutal street criminal organizations, exerting some of the deepest and most enduring influence across the United States. If you find that this criminal analysis and its social lessons offer meaningful educational value, please take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so we have even more motivation to bring you deeper, more impactful content. Returning to the story, the original gang was formed in the Los Angeles area in the early 1970s. At the outset, its formation was driven primarily by the need to create a counterbalancing force, allowing members to protect one another against oppression from rival gangs in the area. However, power and greed quickly transformed its true nature. Over time, the SMM 24K criminal branch grew rapidly and began extending its toxic tentacles far beyond its original limited boundaries. This gang expanded relentlessly from the bustling Bronx and the crowded streets of New York City, moving quietly along the routes of the U.S. East Coast states. Eventually, they took root and established remarkably solid operational bases in the sunny, windswept region of the state of Florida. In this new territory, they not only wreaked havoc on the streets, but also penetrated deep into detention facilities themselves. The indictment revealed that this gang was operating a large-scale criminal enterprise in which its most hardened members, including inmates serving sentences inside facilities of the Florida Department of Corrections, orchestrated everything from the shadows. They manipulated and planned countless serious crimes ranging from ruthless murder conspiracies to running a drug distribution network on the very grounds of places originally built to rehabilitate and educate people within the state of Florida. The operation of this criminal organization is sustained and reinforced by a single foundation: extreme fear and extreme violence. According to the released legal documents, gang members and associates consistently employed violence at its most brutal level to settle disputes. What is truly terrifying is that they were even willing to turn their weapons on their own brothers within the gang if the council determined that those individuals had violated the strict unspoken rules imposed by the organization itself. To systematize and formalize these violent punishments, the criminal group created something known as an incredibly detailed and chilling target list. This list did not merely contain personal identifying information and the exact locations of the victims, but also clearly recorded the specific allegations made against each individual. This reveals the coldness, deliberate calculation, and ruthless nature of the ringleaders, exposing them as merciless perpetrators hiding behind the facade of gang brotherhood. The gang's cruelty toward its own accomplices is clearly demonstrated through a series of severe attacks that took place behind bars. According to statistics from investigative files, this organization is accused of inflicting potentially fatal injuries and attempting to murder 3 of its own members. Alongside this, an enemy from a rival gang who dared to stand in the way of the leadership also became a victim of brutal retaliatory beatings. These horrifying incidents clearly show that this gang has been operating like a miniature state within the prison system itself. They grant themselves the authority to set their own rules, convene their own shadow trials, and personally carry out sentences through violence against those of their own kind. Through these brutal internal disciplinary cases, we can draw a deeply sobering lesson about the deceptive nature of the criminal underworld. Many wayward teenagers are often blinded by empty promises of brotherhood and protection, but the harsh reality reveals that lasting loyalty does not exist within criminal organizations. For nothing more than a small personal gain or a minor dispute, those who once called each other brothers are willing to turn on one another and take lives without mercy. From this perspective, we come to understand that joining mafia gangs is an absolutely wrong path, one that drags people into an inescapable spiral of fear and betrayal. Families, schools, and society as a whole must unite to create healthy living environments, helping guide the younger generation away from the deadly traps known as gangs. Looking back at the relentless expansion of criminal gangs from dark street alleys into tightly controlled prisons, in your opinion, what drastic and coordinated measures does our society need to take to completely cut off the supply of human resources to these shadowy organizations at the root? This is a painful question that demands collective action, because prevention is always better than cure, and stopping a young person from stepping onto the path of sin carries far greater humanitarian value than punishing them after the damage is already done. The Unsealed indictment does not stop at broad statements, but instead exposes a series of horrific and highly specific violent incidents. These acts were systematically orchestrated and carried out by members across multiple detention facilities scattered throughout the state of Florida. Each case brought to light is deeply stained by cowardly personal revenge, while simultaneously serving as a means to protect the illusory reputation of a criminal organization. The first case reveals a brutal punishment for the offense of concealing information. Gang members coldly conspired to plan the murder of someone within their own organization. The primary reason was simply that they believed this individual had lied and deliberately hidden knowledge of the exact residential location of a rival gang member's family. The tragic outcome of this irrational judgment was that the victim was viciously attacked in vital areas and became the target of an attempted murder that took place inside the DeSoto Annex. Next is the second case, which involves a ruthless murder order issued by a leader named Tyrone Conaway. On January 17, 2023, this 37-year-old individual who previously resided in Fort Lauderdale ordered several subordinates at the DeSoto Annex to carry out the killing of another member. The motive behind this unseen death sentence was that the victim was accused of daring to lie and having the audacity to steal shared gang property. The information and action network of this criminal organization operated with terrifying efficiency. Less than 2 short weeks after the cruel order was issued from the leader's own mouth, the unfortunate subordinate suffered potentially life-threatening injuries inside the correctional facility itself. This incident sounds a grave alarm about the effectiveness of internal prison security when criminals are still able to communicate freely, coordinate with one another, and carry out acts of attempted murder so brazenly behind bars. The violence continued to escalate relentlessly in the third case, a failed murder attempt involving 2 dangerous individuals, Terry Tillman and Charlie Martin. On February 23, 2023, the cruelty was once again laid bare when Terry Tillman, a 38-year-old from Orlando, maliciously attempted to take the life of another gang brother. This cold-blooded attacker ruthlessly used a weapon aiming directly at the vital area around the victim's neck. This is an extremely vital area of the human body, clearly demonstrating that the perpetrator's intent was to end the victim's life as quickly and decisively as possible. While the attacker carried out the act in a frenzied manner, another defendant in the case, Charlie Martin, a 28-year-old from DeLand, assumed the role of a lookout. This individual stood guard carefully to ensure that the brutal attack would not be discovered or stopped in time by correctional officers. What is even more striking and chilling is that the identifying information of both victims in these serious attacks had already been clearly included in the gang's target list beforehand. This proves that none of these crimes were spontaneous acts committed in a moment of rage, but rather the result of a meticulous, calculated, and ruthless planning process. The existence of this dark list stands as irrefutable evidence of the group's organized nature and its complete disregard for human life. Not only did they turn their spears inward to eliminate those they deemed traitors, this gang was also ever ready to unleash extreme violence against external enemies. The fourth case stands as a vivid testament to the systematic coordination involved in hunting a rival gang. In April 2023, 2 individuals, Hernando Thompson, 40 years old, and Alvin James, 30, both from Orlando, secretly used cell phones to exchange a series of text messages. The purpose of these shadowy exchanges was to coordinate and plan the murder of a rival gang member. This relentless, hatred-driven hunt led to a deeply tragic outcome when the victim was brutally assaulted and severely injured in the face inside the Appalachia East Correctional Institution. Before the physical pain had any chance to subside, the hatred of the criminal underworld once again descended upon the head of this unfortunate man. Less than 1 month after the first horrific attack on May 24th, 2023, the same rival gang victim was ambushed yet again. This individual was violently assaulted by 2 other inmates shortly after being transferred to the Liberty Correctional Institution. This persistent and bloodthirsty pursuit proves the organization's seamless communication capabilities as well as its synchronized coordination of actions across multiple and separate prisons, marking it as an exceptionally dangerous criminal network. Through this history of blind hatred and endless cycles of violence between rival gangs, we are forced to confront a heartbreaking truth. Violence only begets more violence, and hatred will forever remain a poison that corrodes the human spirit. Resolving conflicts through violence never brings peace. It only drives all parties involved into a shared tragedy of trauma and death. The profound lesson here is that we must learn to uphold the rule of law, resolving all conflicts according to the standards of a civilized society rather than behaving under the law of the jungle. Beyond using ruthless violence as a powerful tool to spread fear and maintain dark control, the ultimate objective pursued by this criminal organization was always massive financial gain. According to the detailed evidentiary documents presented in the indictment, this gang profited illegally from vast sums of money by establishing and operating a large-scale drug trafficking network. This network was organized with extreme sophistication, extending its tentacles from the outside world deep into the cells of the prison system itself. This organization successfully established a system to smuggle large quantities of deadly drugs into the dark prison confines, including methamphetamine, a substance capable of severely devastating the brain. To evade the prison's strict multi-layered security systems, incarcerated members cleverly relied on a network of associates operating in the outside world. These associates played a crucial role as indispensable intermediaries and couriers. They employed every cunning method imaginable, carefully concealing and slipping toxic drug packages past security checkpoints to successfully place them into the hands of the most hardened members locked inside prison. Once the drugs passed through the thick iron gates, they were immediately distributed within a closed and ruthless black market. In the underworld of these incarcerated individuals, the price of a single dose of drugs could be inflated dozens of times compared to its actual value in the outside world. The ruthless exploitation of fellow inmates' vulnerability and addiction provided the gang with an incredibly abundant source of funding. They then used this dirty money to further fuel other violent criminal activities, paying bribes to corrupt staff and consolidating their ultimate power in the shadows. This illicit drug trade not only undermines the authority of the law, but also directly shatters the hopes of so many other inmates who are genuinely trying to rehabilitate themselves and rebuild their lives in order to reunite with their families. Drugs are the seed from which countless other crimes grow, and their presence within a correctional and educational environment is a deep wound to society as a whole. These addictive substances strip away human reason, turning individuals into obedient puppets in the hands of ruthless traffickers. The sobering lesson revealed by this drug network reminds every one of us, especially the younger generation, that we must always remain vigilant and say an absolute no to drugs in any form. A single moment of weakness or curiosity can be traded for an entire lifetime sinking into darkness and imprisonment. The The sophistication behind the networks that smuggle drugs deep into detention facilities shows that certain gaps still exist in the management and oversight efforts of the authorities. From your perspective, how can the government and prison management agencies thoroughly and effectively shut down external complicity that penetrates the correctional system in order to cleanse the rehabilitation environment and restore the full authority of the law? After facing a fierce response from U.S. law enforcement agencies, the Deputy Attorney General and the United States Attorney for the United States District Court for the Middle District of Florida forcefully condemned this criminal organization. The two officials emphasized that the gang had imposed a brutal law of the jungle, viciously attacking 3 internal members and 1 rival while sophisticatedly trafficking drugs to poison prisons across the state acts that openly defy the justice system. Despite being incarcerated, they remained unrepentant, continuing to expand their brutal criminal empire through violence and illegal activities. The government of the United States has pledged not to rest until this entire organization is completely dismantled. Law enforcement representatives expressed sincere praise for the close and effective cooperation among federal, state, and local forces which contributed to the combined strength that successfully dismantled the large-scale drug trafficking network. The special agent in charge of the FBI Tampa field office emphasized that the core strategy is to reinforce elite resources and build strong cases that strike directly at the gang's headquarters and financial system, thereby maximizing deterrence, preventing violence, and protecting a safe living environment for the community. This victory affirms the power of justice, reminding everyone of the spirit of upholding the rule of law, and stands as the result of persistent, highly dangerous interagency investigative efforts carried out over many years. Thank you all for taking your valuable time to follow this difficult yet deeply meaningful journey in pursuit of justice. We sincerely hope you won't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date and never miss the valuable life lessons and in-depth legal analyses we'll be bringing you in future episodes.